Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Episode. Here we got another fun and random video for you guys this Friday because we're working backwards in the Silent Scope franchise, and today we're going to be talking about Silent Scope 2. Originally it ran on the Konami Hornet arcade PCB, and this is the PlayStation 2 version because as at the time of recording this audio, I am in the works of making a deal to get an original Hornet arcade board for this game, and hopefully I can get that running and show you guys some real hardware captures along with how to play it at home. But honestly, I love the Silent Scope franchise, but we're just kind of skipping around. First we did EX and now we're at 2. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, I want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But Silent Scope 2 is just more of a good thing, and honestly, this is my preferred game versus the original as far as the non-EX style games are concerned. It is just a bigger, better, longer version of Silent Scope with a way more wacky storyline, and trust me, the story in this game is hilarious and it's 100% why you want to play it. But you'll see there that guy tucked his head just outside of that truck and he received a bullet to the brain as a reward. I love this franchise. I love what it does mechanically. A shot like this, so far off into the distance, trying to get that reticle just over his chest. It feels so good when you land a shot like that. It's a sense of accomplishment that other light gun games don't provide as much, because as opposed to shooting 20 enemies down all at once, you really only have 1 or 2 things to deal with, but sometimes those things you're dealing with can be really far into the distance. You'll see our main villain here got his leather trench coat somewhere. Looks absolutely ridiculous in it. It's like a leather duster. But that doesn't matter. This is just arcade gaming at its best. And this is Konami from an era in which they were putting out such inventive, interesting arcade games. Obviously this is a sequel. They had done the Silent Scope arcade cabinet originally, but this just kind of built on the entire idea with bigger levels, more things to do. Kind of feels like the Time Crisis 2 to the original Time Crisis, but here we're dealing with Silent Scope. And you will see, unlike the first game, you can't shoot through certain objects as well. You have to wait for your enemies to pop their heads out before they are vulnerable, because we can't shoot through this railing. We can only hit him on the top of his helmet. This game requires a lot of skill, whether you're on the PlayStation 2 version with a mouse, or whether you're using the original arcade light gun with that scope, having that second monitor feed from the second graphics board on the arcade PCB. You have to be paying attention, you have to be planning, and you always have to be active in understanding what's on screen, what's the most nearest threat, and what you can deal with later, because screen space management and time management are huge things in this game, because a timer is always running. Run out of time and you're going to be using a continue. Run out of lives and you're also going to be using a continue, but 9 out of 10 times the timer is going to be what is difficult. But I love they include things like this tactical shot here. Hit that little metal hook and you can take out 2 enemies at once. Honestly, it would be faster just to shoot them, but one of the enemies is behind something you cannot shoot through. So sometimes the game is going to force you to make those challenging shots, and I love it for that. Well, this game sometimes can just be hilarious as well. You'll see here our first boss, she's going to warm us up handsome, and it's not so much what she says, it's just the hilarity of what boss fights can be in this game. You'll see here, Tanya's weak point is the head. All the enemies in the game's weak point is the head. And this is the boss fight, 1 trigger pull, we're done. You can win a boss fight that quickly. If your aim is true and you get a headshot off the top, a boss fight can last like 5 seconds at the most. It's not a bad thing, it means you have a ton of skill in that one particular area. But this game can be brutally hard. The skiing segment here, like straight out of a James Bond movie, trying to lead those bullets and hit your enemies while you're moving around can be extremely difficult. It's been longer since I played Silent Scope 2 than I did EX, so I'm a little bit rustier at these areas, but honestly, it is just a ton of fun. It's the type of game that makes you want to come back, learn it, and get better at it, because the progress system is just that good. You keep playing the game, you keep learning the enemy placements, and you get better at that aim, and suddenly you're getting real close to a 1cc. But as you get further into the game, it is going to get harder because enemies are going to start moving around a lot more. You don't have as much time to shoot them. Like this boss character here has a couple scrub enemies you need to take out first, and that's going to cause him to pop out. Now I was so close to hitting him in the head, but I just got a shoulder shot. The second one's going to go right through his skull, and he's going to fall off this cliff and float down almost like Wile E. Coyote in a Roadrunner cartoon. I don't know if that was intentional, but it is hilarious. But of course, being a Konami game, the soundtracks are always good to great, and Silent Scope is no different. I really do like the soundtrack in this one, and a lot of the cutscenes have some hilarious acting. I will let you listen to some of that later on in the video, but enjoy the music, because it's pretty good.
Hurry up! Hurry up!
I just love how good of a set piece this plane is, driving around it trying to shoot at the propellers while the enemies are attacking you. This game is all about the set piece, and it does really work. And I love some of these enemies here. They're going to say stupid stuff like that monster, that they are immortal, and then magically, a headshot later, they're going to fall to the back of a plane. And nothing is immortal in this game. If you have a good aim, you're barely even going to see them on screen at once. But now that we're through with this plane chase sequence, we're going to be going on to a little more of a true sniper situation. And I will say that the designers at this game did a really good job making that difficulty curve fair but challenging. Because you'll see here, you're not immediately going to see where your enemies are, but you will see a muzzle flash in the distance. That is your cue to find them. Because once the target reticle comes up, they're going to almost be ready to shoot you. So you really do need to read the screen and look for that scope glint or that muzzle flash to understand where the enemy you want to shoot in the game is. I think it's an excellent design decision as far as playability and readability is concerned. It gives you just enough challenge to understand what's happening, but it doesn't hold your hand, and at higher difficulties those muzzle flashes are very, very quick. But you get stuff like a tactical shot as well that you can knock out a bunch of enemies on that bridge. But I told you I would give you some time to hear some of the voice acting because it is absolutely hilarious. So once we get past this castle segment here, go ahead and enjoy it. It is classic arcade voiceover as far as the definition is concerned.
What a show-off. He watches too many movies.
If we get hit with that, we'll be blown to pieces. Try to stop him!
You're a little late for the party. We've already taken everything. The opera is no longer showing in here. Please purchase a ticket and come to the theater.
I mean, that is pure cheese, terrible voice acting, but that's what we got back in the day in arcades and in home releases, and Konami was definitely as bad in instances as Sega was with the bad voice acting, and I'm definitely sure that they thought that was good. It was not tongue-in-cheek, and they weren't playing around with what voice acting could be. They just didn't do a very good job of it, but that's part of the charm of this game, is it is just so quirky and weird, and I love once you finally shoot this guy down, somehow he makes it all the way back to his tank after he's dead to be exploded on top of the tank. And now we have to move on to the Opera House, and this is where the game feels a little bit like Silent Scope EX and a little bit of its boss encounters and mini games that are included within the game itself. Because the tenor, the weak point, is his head, and if we know anything about boss fights in this game, it's that they can end pretty quickly. I got him down to 6 of 10. Pop off a quick shot here, and he is on the ground, but of course, like everyone else, he has to go back to his mark to be able to die. It's almost like this entire game is a movie and the actors are trying to hit their marks. So much so like a movie that the villain can't just explode his weapons, he has to give you an opportunity to foil his plan like a James Bond movie. This whole thing reads as kind of like an homage to a James Bond film, except with much worse voice acting. But challenge shots like this, shooting the 3 remote detonators is quite hard. You do not want to shoot the victims or you lose a lot of time, but if you can hit all 3 with good shots, you're 100% good to go on to the next area. And I do like that the game slows itself down. You have action set pieces and you have more challenging areas like this, trying to find the opponents inside of these windows, because you'll see something moving, but you'll end up finding out the designers actually tricked you. It's just a resident of the building. And then you end up almost getting shot by somebody else who was actually the target. It does such a great job of that. Or things like this with this double-decker bus coming towards you. You get one shot to take the driver out before he runs you over and does damage. When you do it well, everything is spectacular. When you fail at it, you really just want to be able to come back and try it again, because you know if you just took a second longer, if you just steadied your aim that much more, then you might actually be able to do it. But of course, there's always a damsel. She's always in distress, and we always have to save her. It's a video game thing. And you'll see here that we now have a sniper duel battle against our friend. And if you take too long, it will tell you where he is, but he's almost ready to take that shot. You need to hit him first, or else you're going to have a bad time for sure. And you will see here that we're able to do that, and that we have basically won the affection of the girl. Doesn't make any sense from a narrative standpoint, it's just what the game wants to show you. But of course, it was just a paint bullet. We fooled the villain this whole time, and this definitely has one of the campiest endings imaginable. The first game had a great ending for the boss. This one is even better, because we're going to come up here with our helicopter, and we're going to shoot a sniper rifle from a rope ladder while the villain does this dramatic waltz through a clock tower celebrating his victory. It's too early of a celebration. He probably should have been paying more attention. It does take a second to find him, and this is a very difficult area. The shots only open for like half a second. We shot her in the leg and lost a little bit of life, but if you lead him just right, you can end up picking damage off from him. The headshot is the hardest thing, and if you run out of time, again, not a good thing. So I just basically did that chip damage. You need to nail 3 shots here, and I was able to do so, and the last one was a headshot, but it didn't really matter for me. And of course, it's not a silent scope game without one last expert shot to take. If you fail at it, you don't get a second chance. If you succeed, you get the good ending. Because our villain here, of course, handcuffed himself to the girl, and now we have to use that one last sniper bullet to disconnect them. If you miss, it's a bad ending. That's just how it works. But we were able to hit it, and he takes a Hans Gruber off the end of the Nakatomi Tower to his doom. And anytime I can bring Die Hard into a video, you know I'm going to do it. But honestly, I love this game. It is just classic 2099 era arcade goodness from Konami. It is very easy to pick up and understand. It is very difficult to master. And again, if you want to see me do an original hardware shoot of this game, talk about how to play it at home with the original controllers, leave me a comment down below because I'm really entertaining the idea, but it's quite expensive and time consuming. But yeah, that's Silent Scope 2. It is a 10 out of 10 game in my opinion, and I love it. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.